Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with my partner Clark Kellogg, and we're ready to give you your first taste of all the big names and top teams that'll define this season. We're looking ahead to what should be an amazing year in college basketball, so let's take a look at the preseason top 25 poll and see who starts the season at the top of the heap. Here are the Big Five, the top teams in the country as we begin the season. The Alabama Crimson Tide come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Arizona, Wake Forest, Providence, and Cal. What do you think of the top 5 teams going into the year, Clark?
Sometimes the top players in the nation and the best teams in the nation aren't necessarily together at the top of the poll. But going into this season, we have some of the absolute best players playing on the marquee teams. That's really exciting to me, Greg.
Alabama is in the catbird seat to start the season, sitting pretty in the #1 spot. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball. But with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Arizona is in the #2 spot. They are a very strong team, but they have plenty of competition from within their own league.
That'll work to their advantage, Greg, because they'll have been through so many battles by the time March rolls around, tournament pressure won't bother them at all.
Wake Forest comes in as #3. Their tournament last year came to an abrupt end with a loss in the second round, Clark.
It can be demoralizing for a team not to get past the first weekend of the tournament. But they've had all summer to forget about that loss and instead build on the positives from last season.
Providence starts. Cal is the #5 team. Certainly, they'll get a big boost from the return of their leading scorer from a year ago.
That's a big advantage for them. They don't have to spend the first few weeks of the season searching for that go-to guy. They know who he is, and they'll use him.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
With such a long season ahead,
The Villanova Wildcats. The Rice Owls, the #9 team, have also generated a lot of interest. They had a wonderful year last season, finishing with 23 wins.
that 20-win plateau is one of those benchmarks in college hoops that immediately classifies you as an elite team. So they're going to have a tough act to follow. But if they simply play to their potential, they can reach that mark again.
Okay, Clark, let's take a look at the teams that close out the preseason top 25 poll. How about this list?
This is a year, Greg, where I think a few of the teams on this end of the poll really stand out above the others. There are a handful of these teams that are potential sleeping giants.
As usual, we have a lot of new coaching hires to tell you about as we start the season. Here are all the new coaches in college basketball this season. There are quite a few interesting names. Coach Jones is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The Oregon Ducks, the Kentucky coach, also made a move to a new school, and that's generated some excitement. We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation and unveil the list of our preseason All-Americans. There before you are the 5 first-team All-Americans as we begin the season, and what a list it is. The Stanford Cardinal are pinning their hopes squarely on this young man's shoulders, Clark.
Max Seal is the first player on the list for good reason. Feels like this guy's been playing college basketball forever. This will be his 4th year as a starter. But I still don't take him for granted. And I think this will be his best season of all of them.
As for our next up is a player that's drawing comparison. Let's move on to a player who's... And finally, we have another superb player to round out the first team. The Cleveland State Vikings will probably get used to seeing him make the impossible look ordinary.
Everson is going to have his own personal highlight reel by the end of this season. If I had to pick some front runners for the Player of the Year award, he would be right there on the list. I've seen him take over games even when he isn't scoring 30. There are some great scorers among these All-Americans, and he's one of them, but he does much more than score.
Now let's move on to the second-team All-Americans. Not such a bad list, huh? These elite players all have the potential to have historic seasons if the right pieces fall into place. The Georgetown Hoyas have built their team around the next player on the team is a sensational player in his own right. Wake Forest is in for a great year if he lives up to his potential.
Rouse is in the spotlight for all the right reasons. We always talk about the guys with great hands. Well, he's got great feet. I love those happy feet. There are few players in the nation with better footwork than him, and that's what allows him to always be in the right position, whether it comes to rebounding or finding space for an open shot.
We can all look forward to some very exciting highlights. Our next All-American, and here we have the final player on our